Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you and welcome to the channel. So in this video we are going to cover chapter number 4, or you can say class number 4 of Science and Technology. This is very important for UKPSC upper PCS, paper number 6. It is worth 200 marks. There can be questions from the circulatory system. There can be a small 2-marker question or a 5-marker question, even an 8-marker or a 16-marker can be asked. Alright. So if you want the PDF, you can join the Telegram channel. After the entire life sciences portion is done, I'll be sharing the PDF out there. And in case you have certain questions or comments about the lecture, then you can comment in the comment section, as well as you can join the group on the Telegram channel. Also you can ask your queries. Alright, so let's start. So in this video we are going to cover the circulatory system. The main components of the circulatory system is the heart, the blood vessels and blood. Alright, so first of all, the heart. It is a muscular organ in the chest. It is basically, if you want to see or you can understand the size with the help of your fist, okay, अगर आप मुट्ठी को अपने बांधते हैं तो मुट्ठी के बराबर इसका हार्ट का हमारे साइज होता है. Alright, now heart is divided into 4 chambers. As you can see in this diagram, the upper portion is known as atrium and the lower portion is known as ventricle, and there is a septum or a wall between these chambers, and that is why we have the divisions like the right and the left atrium and the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Between the atrium and the ventricles we have the valves, okay, which prevent the backflow of blood. So basically the flow of blood will always be from the atrium into the ventricle and not from the ventricle into the atrium. Alright, so it is always going to be a unidirectional flow. Now blood flows through the heart in 2 separate loops, okay, that is why it is known as double circulation. The force is exerted by the blood on the walls of the blood vessels, and that results in the blood pressure. That is what is basically checked, and the blood pressure is higher in the arteries. Therefore whenever we are checking the blood pressure, we are basically monitoring the arteries. Alright, now I told you about double circulation. So what exactly is that? Why is it called double circulation? Because the blood is flowing through the heart 2 times, okay. One is the pulmonary circulation and the other is systemic circulation. So as you can see out here, I already explained that the heart has 4 chambers: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. The blood will always move from the atrium into the ventricle. Now in the left side of the atrium, what happens is that, suppose let's start from the left atrium. Alright, so blood is out here, it is moving into the left ventricle, and from the left ventricle it moves to the dorsal aorta, to the body organs and to the superior and inferior vena cava. So what I am trying to say is that left atrium contains oxygenated blood. From the left atrium it moves into the left ventricle, and from there it moves to the entire body. Since it moves to the entire body, this is known as systemic circulation. Then from the entire body, since the body, or you can say the organs, they use up all the oxygen which was present in the blood, so now what happens is that the blood becomes deoxygenated because all the oxygen has been taken up by the cells of the body. So now the deoxygenated blood, it goes back into the heart and it enters the right atrium through the superior and inferior vena cava. From the right atrium it then moves into the right ventricle, and then from the right ventricle it moves into the pulmonary artery. From there it goes to the lungs, and from there it goes to the pulmonary vein, and finally again the oxygenated blood, since the lungs are the ones where gas exchange takes place. So now the blood is again rich in oxygen and it goes back into the left atrium and the cycle continues. Now why this part is called pulmonary circulation? Because this part of the circulation involves the lungs, and pulmonary basically depicts lungs. Alright, so they can ask you questions like, right atrium contains what type of blood? So always remember that right atrium will be having deoxygenated blood. Another question that can be asked is that pulmonary artery, what kind of blood does it contain? So we always learn that artery is the one which contains, or which is basically having the blood which is rich in oxygen, but there is an exception, and that is pulmonary artery, because it contains deoxygenated blood. Similarly, pulmonary veins contain oxygenated blood because the blood is coming or has reached the lungs and has become enriched with oxygen, and then it is moving into the pulmonary veins, which finally reaches the left atrium. So the left atrium contains oxygenated blood. Alright, I hope this was clear. Now, the other component that we talked about was blood. So what does blood comprise of? Blood has plasma, which is the fluid part, and is composed of 90% of water. Apart from the plasma, there are certain cells like red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes, the white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, and the platelets, also known as the thrombocytes. So the RBCs, they are actually involved in transporting oxygen, nutrients and other substances. White blood cells play an important role in body's defense mechanism, and thrombocytes are the ones which are responsible for blood clotting. Okay, so now if we talk about the blood vessels, that is another component of the circulatory system. So as in the beginning I told you about the heart, we learned about the heart, the various parts of the heart and how double circulation takes place. Then we talked about the types of blood cells, or the basic components of blood, which comprises of plasma and the blood cells. Then the three types of blood cells: RBCs, WBCs and platelets. Now we'll talk about the blood vessels. So the blood vessels are basically three. First of all, we have the arteries, then we have the veins, and then we have the capillaries. Arteries, they are blood vessels, and usually they transport oxygenated blood, except for pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood. The other important feature of the arteries is that they always carry blood from the heart to the different parts of the body. They are thick, they are elastic, and they are divided into a number of small blood vessels called the capillaries. And in case of veins, they carry deoxygenated blood usually, but one exception being the pulmonary vein, which carries oxygenated blood. Another important feature of the veins is that they carry blood towards the heart from various parts of the body. Then they are thin, elastic and are present closer to the surface of the skin. Okay, so there can be a question wherein they can ask you the differences between arteries and veins. So if such a question comes, first of all you can talk about that blood is carried from the heart to different parts in arteries, but in veins towards the heart from different parts. Then arteries, they are thick, whereas veins are thin. Arteries usually carry oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery. Veins usually carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. Veins, they are usually superficial or closer to the skin, but arteries are deep-seated. The blood flow through the arteries under immense pressure, whereas in case of veins, it is under low pressure. Alright? These were some differences. Now, another important aspect of circulatory system is, first of all, we talked about the blood system or the circulatory system comprising of the blood, but there is another circulatory system or another body fluid called the lymph, and it is also called tissue fluid, and it involves the lymphatic system, which consists of organs, nodes and ducts. Okay, and the fluid is also colorless in this case, consists of salts, proteins, water, and transports and circulates digested food and absorbed fat. Okay, now some important functions of the circulatory system are, first of all, it helps in transport of oxygen throughout the body, helps in sustaining all the organ systems, transports nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, blood, hormones throughout the body. It protects the cells from pathogens, and it acts as an interface for cell-to-cell interaction. The substances present in the blood also help in repair of the damaged tissue. Okay, so this was about the circulatory system. After this, we are left with 5 more systems, or you can say important organ the important ones that are left after this will be the excretory system, reproductory system, the nervous system, the endocrine system and the reproductive system. Okay, so we'll be covering those topics also, and hopefully the lecture was useful. In case you have any queries, then you can post it in the comment section, and always remember that whatever exam you're preparing for, you can do it. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye and take care.